Good morning and welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Thursday, the 6th of February, and I'm delighted to be joined by the first time in quite a long time, actually. I think since our last Talking Point show, me and Stevie are back. Stevie, how are we?
Good, mate. I hope you're well. Hope everybody that's watching is well and has a good morning and tax the day ahead.
Yes, I was saying to Josh on the show yesterday, it's strange not having a midweek game. We've got into such a rhythm of a weekend and then either a league game or a European game, and the weeks are really ticked off. How have you filled your midweek without a Rangers game to focus on?
With absolute joy, Christopher. Not having to worry about the internet, our defence, corner kicks coming into our box. Yeah, it's been quite refreshing. I've enjoyed every second of it. But now, look, we've played a lot of games, haven't we? So it's just nice to have a bit of a break, and I'm kind of hoping that hopefully the manager can get the players on the training field and do some work with them. So, yeah, it's certainly nice after transfer window as well, just to quieten things down a wee bit.
He was, I've lost track of what game it was, but he was asked about that in a post-match at Ibrox the other day there about having this time to actually work with the players. What kind of benefit do you think that could actually bring for him? Because it has been that hectic between the European games and then obviously been a busy domestic schedule as well. In terms of like days on the training ground, not really had that many, and certainly with a full squad. Obviously, we don't have a full squad available right now, but the chance to actually do some work on the training ground, perhaps work on those set pieces that you mentioned earlier on, it could actually be quite beneficial for Rangers this wee break.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping. Is it naive enough to think that those have got wee knocks who maybe don't have time to train can get some training time in? You know, I know we have a cup game on Sunday, but relatively we've got almost 2 free weeks before we then go to Tynecastle. And I would hope that we're able to get some practice in, get some training. You know, is it naive enough to think those that were kind of a few weeks away with knocks can get some training done, maybe help them get back up to speed? Perhaps the problem has been that we are just having to go from, returning straight into games and it's not really helping them. So perhaps maybe it's just a degree of hope that might happen, but hopefully, they can get some training time in, work on a few things, get some players fit. Can they work on set pieces? Can they work on certain movements for games and stuff like that? I don't think we'll have had a phase like this, certainly since the summer, for them to get a chance to work on the training pitch. So, look, I don't expect them to suddenly go to Tynecastle and, be like Arsenal from set pieces, but it would be nice if we could just have a few weeks where maybe we can get a few more bodies on the training pitch and stuff like that. Because there is questions, Chris. I mean, I think you have to ask, what's going on with Dujon Sterling? Where is Oscar Cortez? Where about is Danilo on his update? Danny hopefully back for Hearts, hopefully, but where's the others? And it's those kind of wee knocks. We hear a lot about players, just small injuries, they'll be back soon. Well, I understand the reluctance to put dates on it and things like that, because then you're putting pressure and you don't, setbacks can happen. I get that. But it would be nice if we could have a kind of definitive timescale and when these boys are back. Because if you think of the squad and you look at the likes of Yilmaz, Sterling, Oscar Cortez and things, these guys are all going to be playing. So it's a lot to ask Philippe Clement to deal with. So it'd be nice if we could get some of these guys back and get them back on the training pitch.
We titled the video this morning, Your Rangers Questions Answered, and if you have anything that you'd like to pose to me and Stevie, by all means put it in the comments and we'll get to as many of them as possible. We'll start with one from Scott there, talking about the European squad, something that Rangers don't have to worry about for another couple of weeks. Thankfully, they can sit back, they can see how this round of fixtures unfold, and then wait and see what lies ahead by the time they get to the 6th of March and the 13th, I think it is, for those two ties. As you mentioned there, I think the Rangers squad itself should be in a healthier place if you can get likes of Danilo back, Cortez, Yilmaz, certainly Sterling, hopefully Balogun, another one. there should be enough options there for the manager, but he does have this ability, obviously, to add to the squad. For me, the three's fairly obvious. It's Nsiala, it's Danilo, and it's Ianis Hagi. Any uptake or any differentiation on those three?
No, not in the slightest. That's who I would have put. Fernandes doesn't get in because of his lack of game time. And I think Nsiala, you want to see how he progresses, don't you? So potentially you want him starting these games. And see, for me, Chris, maybe deviate slightly. I've got a bigger point on Nsiala and certainly on Ianis Hagi. On Nsiala, I would start him every game. Away at Tynecastle, away at Parkhead, I don't care. I want to see how this boy copes. I want to see how he progresses. I think he's done really, really well. And I think he's coped really, really well. Even in mornings, I'm reading that off that. Even in moments like, on Sunday there against Ross County, he was chipping it up and stuff like that. And he looked very, very comfortable. So, yeah, for me, he's an absolute no-brainer. Danilo, because we need more options up front. We're a Desser's injury away from being, a wee bit short there. So, Ianis Hagi is one that I want to talk about because a couple of months ago, December time, I said to Derek I would be looking to move Ianis Hagi on contract-wise and things like that. Ianis Hagi's really impressed me with his performances, with his attitude on the pitch, and he's brought something that I wasn't quite sure he was capable of doing anymore. He's got a really good eye for a pass, and he's performed. So look, I'm putting my hands up. I've actually grown to want him in my team. I want him starting games, and I'm now probably of the complete opposite opinion that I said yesterday. Obviously, we're going to have to negotiate with him because I don't think we can. I think the manager made it perfectly clear we can't really take his clause because his clause would be on the higher wage, which we maybe can't afford. We need to renegotiate. If we can do that for Ianis Hagi, I'd like to see Ianis Hagi stay because whether or not you think he is first choice quality or whatever else that people think, undoubtedly, I think Ianis Hagi over the last couple of months has proved that he can contribute. So I'm more than willing to hold my hands up and say that he's impressed me and he's changed my mindset on that, Chris, because I would have, a couple of months ago, I would have said he's an expensive kind of luxury that we maybe can't afford and we should try and cash in on him. Well, January's come and gone and we haven't. So, I think he's become a key kind of player in our forward line. He has to be in the European squad. I think he's that important. And, was I wrong? He certainly helped prove it. So, it's a great attitude from Ianis. And I've thoroughly enjoyed watching him. I think he's been really good value.
On a similar theme, almost in terms of that number 10 position. One here from Pete talking about Bajrami and asking you if he thinks he'll turn good. For me, he has a lot of work to do. Touched on this with Josh on the show yesterday. I think if you look at the importance of that number 10 role, we spoke a lot about it towards the end of last season. The Todd Cantwell situation, Rangers decided that Cantwell was not the answer in number 10. I don't think Tom Lawrence has ever really been the answer. Has been an option, but not the answer. They spent a bit of money on Bajrami. He also arrived off the back of that historic moment at the European Championships. He has provided moments and started well. And I think his first couple of weeks, you thought there's something different here. This guy looks the part, and then he almost got Rangers, if you like, and Rangers brought him back in, and they took all that flair and took all that creativity and took all the good things out of him because the team at that time were not playing that well. It was also a difficult spell for the manager. I think Bajrami maybe suffered from that, being played off that left-hand side. But for me, even when he has played in that number 10 position, the position that everyone was calling for him to get in this side, not really done enough. Where do you stand on him? And of course, it's still, we're only just over half a season in. Let's not completely write people off and go too far on it. But I think if you're looking at guys who have to improve in the second half of the season, I'm looking for a bit more from Bajrami.
Right. Here's a controversial thing. I don't think we do as well against Celtic in the last couple of games if Nadim Bajrami's not playing, because his ability off the ball, his tracking, his tactical awareness, his effort, and kind of team play off the ball, I think is really, really good. As silly as that might sound, I think he's really, really astute. He's really on it. The issue I've got, and I've highlighted this one line, is he can almost be anonymous on the ball. I don't think he offers enough. I think, like you say, maybe he's become a bit short of confidence because he's very ultra safe. Whereas Ianis Hagi is trying things, is trying the old passes. Hamza Igaman is just, he's the complete opposite. He's so confident and almost verging on arrogant that he tries the inside foot passes, he tries the little flicks, he tries everything. Well, Nadim Bajrami's not anywhere near the confidence level of either of them. That's maybe my issue with him at the moment. And I'm reluctant. Look, I am worried about him, right? I think that's absolutely fair because I don't think he's proven the performance levels that we really hoped. But I'm very reluctant just to rubbish him and put him over in the bin and he's never going to make it, etc. Because I think we need to be careful of doing that. And sometimes players take a year, sometimes players take a season. So I think he's shown enough off the ball and he's been really tactically important in those big wins. And I think that's, a lot of it you don't recognise until you maybe watch back and you see space that he fills and players that he stops and things like that just by pressing and being on it. But on the ball, yeah, I think for the outlay and for the type of player we thought we were bringing in, I think he has to get some more numbers and he has to get some more moments in games on the ball. But Chris, as you and I both know, that can change really quickly. All it takes is one or two games. All it takes is going to Tynecastle and Nadim Bajrami to bag a couple of goals, and all of a sudden the whole narrative swings and changes and he goes on a run of form. So I think I don't think it's not that he's not performing at all. He's maybe just not doing what we need him to be doing in terms of the flashier bits on the ball. If he can get that, he's already got the other bit. So that's me trying to be fair to him. I think it would be unreasonable. I think at times he lacks a wee bit of, dare I say it, a wee bit of heart. Johnny disagreed with me on this a couple of weeks ago. He kind of dips his toe in at times, and he's maybe just that type of player. And Johnny was saying he didn't really agree with that. But at times it's almost like his style is a bit different. It's a lot different from Nico Raskin, for example. But it doesn't mean the job is less important. So I think I need to maybe be aware of that and what type of player he is. But reluctant to write him off yet, Chris. He needs to do more. I think that's fair. I think that would be a fair observation. Certainly on the ball, need more numbers, need more moments. But he's capable.
Like that, the comment here from Stephen Omsky ties into that. And when you mentioned there his style, he's very much for me the opposite of Todd Cantwell. He's not flashy. He's not brash, is maybe the wrong word, but he goes about his business in a very different way. And I think it's maybe people were looking for a Cantwell style number 10, but just someone who produced it more often and who brought a bit more to the party. Bajrami, as you've outlined there, he's not flashy. He doesn't really try the Igaman tricks and flicks. He's not got that same style as Hagi. I think he's maybe a bit more reserved than Hagi. Perhaps doesn't try the type of passes that Hagi will try. It seems a bit strange to say he's a defensive number 10, but you look at those Old Firm games that you mentioned. For years, Rangers have spoken about how do you combat that Celtic midfield? Who's going to play in that slightly more advanced role to give Rangers something extra in the middle of the park? And Bajrami has done that. He scored in an Old Firm Cup final. So yes, I'm like you outlined there, looking for more in terms of numbers, in terms of goals and assists, looking for a wee bit more panache, a wee bit more style about him, I think. But maybe that's just not him. And as you've said, he's maybe contributing in different ways, and it will take the fans a bit of time to actually get used to his style, perhaps.
See, on the Cantwell point is a complete moot point. Cantwell didn't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I like Todd, and I really do, I think we've got a lot of time for him personally to deal with. I think he's a great lad. But Todd Cantwell didn't want to stay. He made it clear on a number of occasions to the manager and to the club that he didn't want to be at Rangers. For whatever reason, and I'm not going to add whatever, whoever he didn't get on with or what his decision making is, that's fine. But we can't keep saying, couldn't Todd Cantwell have done that role? Well, perhaps he could have, but he didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So it nullifies anything, doesn't it? So, did we handle that situation well? Was Birmingham, in hindsight, a good move by the manager, etc.? No, it probably wasn't. But at the same time, we can't keep going on about, I see it a lot online and socials and that, we should never let Cantwell go. Well, Cantwell didn't want to be here. So he wasn't going to be playing even if he was. So I think we just need to, I think the comments on Bajrami are fair. More on the ball is certainly what we should be looking for.
In terms of people who may or may not want to be here or who may not get the choice to be here or not, Blair has thrown a list of names at us here. Rapid fire for me, you sell Ridvan, you keep Raskin, you sell Agaman if the price is right, and you sell Jefty if the price is right. But when I say the price is right, it has to be big numbers for those two. I think Raskin still has more to offer. I think he's someone that you look to build that midfield round about next season. Ridvan, I think for the financial outlay, you could do better. Come the summer, there will be another turnover. I think there will definitely be interest in Ridvan just because there always is. I would be surprised if there's not interest in Nico Raskin given his performances. And Agaman and Jefty, they're just of the profile that clubs will be looking at. And Premier League clubs will be thinking there's a talent there, there's something that we can nurture. And for the type of money that Rangers would find acceptable, for certain Premier League clubs, it's not exactly game break the bank. It's not going to be that big a risk for them. If you're to run through those four, how many of them are Rangers players first game next season?
Truthfully, you could put any name up there. They're all for sale at the right price. And I think when you reference Niels Coppin's interview with Rangers Review and Joshua, he says we have to be brave enough to sell, and he referenced Jefty at the right time for the right money, the right price, regardless of how well he's doing. And I think that when you put anyone up there, I could put Jack Butland's name up there. You could put James Tavernier's name up there. You put anyone's name, Cyril Dessers, Danilo Hagi, whoever you wanted. And the truth is, they're all for sale. Every single one of them. Who you would want to sell is a different one. Robert says there about Igaman stays for a couple of seasons. Oh, in an ideal world, absolutely. But the truth is, what you really want from Hamza Igaman is you want a really strong finish to the season and you want plenty of interest. That European run, whoever we get next, you want him lighting it up. You want him making a big impression on an Old Firm game where, it's going to make the headlines. You want that from Hamza Igaman. Now, personally, I think he should be our 9. And it becomes a bit kind of skewed because Cyril Dessers has done so well lately. But I do think he looks slightly less able to contribute on the left wing than he does as a number 9. So I would be wanting to get him up there. It's all about maximising. And I think if you put him up there, you're going to maximise the best out of him. We don't want to keep him, Chris. Of course you would. But the reality of it is Tottenham, Everton, whoever it is sniffing about him, if they put real money in front of you, then you're going to get sold. And we have to recognise that. What we should be doing now is looking for the replacements, looking for who's coming next. So that's where I am on the kind of selling anybody. I am not attached to anyone in this squad that I would hate to see leave. Nico Raskin, I think, is a bit of a favourite of mine. He always has been. Would I want to see him go? No. I think he's one that you would need another season from before the interest maybe comes. But that's great because see if you do get another season out of him, then that's fantastic. I still think he needs a partner, Chris. I don't think the dynamic between Raskin and Diamande is always perfect. They both got a tendency to roam about quite a bit, and I think it leaves us vulnerable at times. Could we put somebody else in there? Could that, maybe happen? I'm not sure. So there's a lot of interesting kind of dynamics with who stays and who goes. But the truth is, for me, put any name in front of me. Put Jack Butland's name in front of me. How much are we getting for him? I would be tempted. Put Cyril Dessers in front of me, 31 next birthday. You would be tempted, wouldn't you? So I don't think there's many in there. Is there anybody that you wouldn't sell? And
No.
I'm not asking if, like, from the heart point of view, you really like them and you want them to stay. I'm asking from a business point of view and from us having to do this fourth pillar thing that everybody talks about. Is there anybody that you wouldn't sell for good money? I don't think there is.
I think the point there that just came in from Tom, talking about the chance of winning a trophy if players start leaving. I think that's a fair one. The manager can reference that post-match the other day there when he was asked about Cherny and Hagi staying on, and he spoke about you can't keep having a big rebuild, building a new squad every summer, and then expecting to go and challenge for things. That this season has shown that task was just too big for Rangers. But I think your point there is a fair one. Everyone is for sale, not because Rangers are desperate for the money and they have to get players out the door to keep the lights on. They have to get players out the door to allow them to continue to reinvest and to rebuild and to grow and to expand this squad. So like you, there's certain guys I think the fans would be sadder to see go. But I was actually going to pick up on something you said there about a kind of affection point. Do the fans almost have to accept good players will leave? Because you look at previous seasons, there was a real reluctance to sell Morelos or to sell Kent or to sell Kamara from a club perspective, obviously, because they didn't do it and they didn't cash in at the right time. But it felt amongst the fan base there was a real thing of, no, we can't let these guys go because they've been good servants and the team's better with them in it. You have to get used to, if this player trading model is ever going to become what Rangers need it to be, at some point you're going to have to say sad farewells to players who you still think can contribute, and it's going to take, I think, a mindset shift from some of the fans as well.
Yeah, look, and what I'm saying, is maybe a bit of a generalisation about everybody being for sale and that, but I think, and I don't like to highlight this, but it's an obvious point, Kyogo going for £10 million over the road shows that no matter who you are playing in that team and doing as well as they are, they're for sale as well. And it's just when you get a bid that suits everyone, business-wise, look, see the point where those bids were coming in for Morelos. I think the one from France is the most obvious one. Alfredo should have been sold. So, Ryan Kent, interest in him from Leeds and that. Whether or not that was firmed up, I'm not sure. Go back to a wee point about Yilmaz and this bid, apparently, that came in on loan and was 1 million with 3 million. Then it was euros and it wasn't that much. And then I think with Yilmaz, you've got a real value there where you can say, no, hold on. Right age profile, he's a homegrown player for you, etc. We want £5 million or £4 million, €5 million, whatever. Dessers has still got a value. He's going to be 31. According to his agent, 10 teams wanted him in January. That's fine. You want him to keep his run of form going so the summer those 10 teams come back. And the point I'm trying to make is that Ridvan and Dessers have value, £3-4 million each. And you can make enough sales where you got enough for a transfer budget coming in. And you don't need to sign 10 players like the manager was going on about. But you need to make sure that the 2 or 3 big outlays that you have are key investments, that injury records are good, that they are viable, that they are, ready and willing to play every game and stuff. And I think that's what we have to ensure is absolutely right, Chris. And, Eagleman might go for the big money at some point. When he does go for the big money that we all hope and want him to go for, then it's not a case of suddenly spending that on 6 players. Mm-hmm. We need to go, right, here's a strategy for the next few years, etc. And that's what I want to see from Coppin introducing into the club. And I think when you look back at Patterson, And when you look back at the other big sales, Joe Aribo and things like that, and
Calvin
obviously
Bassey.
Calvin Bassey, yeah, I don't think we've done that. I don't think there was a strategy as such. I think it was just, let's give 30 grand a week to everyone, give them all big contracts, and we'll just spend money. And it never really felt like there was anything introduced. So that's what I want to see from Coppin, a complete strategy. And so far, as time goes on, it looks more favourable for him, the business he's done. And obviously, Oscar Cortez around his neck is a big one. We have to try and maximise him somehow.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big one that everybody points to. So he's done okay so far, certainly. And it'll be about what he does next.
A couple of non-football ones have come in here. This will test your financial wizardry here, Stevie. Scott asking about the accounts for next year, and other Scott Hammond asking about the wage bill and where are we with FFP. When the last set of accounts came out, the club were comfortable FFP wise, no concerns there. And obviously since then the wage bill has come down. We have seen, was it 6 million or 8 million come off it last year? And look at what's been done post that. Certainly in terms of January, you're saving another several tens of thousands of pounds off the wage bill in January. It had run out of control. Now you've touched on it on the show previously. You've written about it in your column on the website. The wage bill, for what it was delivering, was just silly at times. Now, as you touched on there, just give 30 grand a week to everyone. It didn't really feel as if there was much strategy there. They're throwing good money after bad for a lot of time, and it was allowed to get to a level that it didn't need to be at. The manager speaks a lot about finances, and the comparison is always made financially with Celtic, and rightly so, because that's your only barometer. Financially, compared to the rest of this league, Rangers are miles and miles and miles ahead, and they've not seen the benefit of that. So, not sure what the accounts will be in terms of a profit or loss, or 17 million, I think it was, loss for last year. You would hope it's not going to be that high again this year. I know, as we've just touched on, a sale or two would make a big difference. I think that was again one of the main takeaways from that set of accounts: the importance of player trading and the importance of success on the pitch. Rangers, as a business, are fairly good at actually making money. Now they've done well commercially. Commercial revenue's up again. They're good at taking money from fans. I don't mean that in a bad way, but they're good at bringing money in. They've not been very good at spending it well and spending it wisely and spending it on things that are actually going to make them money. And now, off field wise, I think the business is in a good state, but football wise, it can be a whole lot better. And that ties into the one from Matthew here talking about kit supply. Interestingly, there was an interview that Tom Behan done with the Secret Leaders podcast, and he named Rangers as the partnership that really made a difference for Castore. We have this article on the website if you want to go and read the comments in full, but I'll give you a wee flavour of it. He said, there are a lot of clubs that think they have a global fan base. There are not many that do. Rangers Football Club was a transformational partnership, I would say. A globally recognised club and brand, genuinely global fan base. People might watch the Premier League in Taiwan, Vietnam and Cambodia and Mexico, but they tend to support quite a small handful of teams. Rangers is one that people know all over the world. That was a big part of it. Castore has been good for Rangers. I think Rangers have been very good for Castore. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. A couple of things on the finances, Chris. I don't think people should be expecting. There's still a lot of work to do. When you talk about, losing 6 to 8 million last year after bringing people in, Rangers will be looking to lose the same amount this summer also. And that isn't as big a job as people might think it is. When you look at Ben Davies, Keane Dowell, Ravi Matondo, Ridvan Yilmaz, Cyril Dessers, Ianis Hagi, Tom Lawrence, Leon Balogun, they're all either going out of contract or you would consider interest in them and you would consider players out on loan, etc., they're probably all expendable from this squad, or we would be looking to make money on them. You could argue that Cyril Dessers isn't expendable, but you know what I mean? He's an asset as such. That would save you in the region of a year £7 to £8 million in wages. That's how high these people are on. When you look at potential money in and things like that, then that'll be negated obviously by a couple of people in, but you could lose that from the squad comfortably and only have to replace 2 or 3 of them. So this is where people shouldn't expect things to stop. There's still another window or 2 work to be done. And with regards to money in, you've still got to counter in Hampden Stadium and everything. And we were warned in an interview last year that the accounts would take a couple of years to balance. They might not be minus 17 million. I certainly hope they're not. But before we come out of this, and it goes back to what I said yesterday in my article, if people want to go and read that. When you run the business the way we have run it and run the football club how we have run it, it was almost at the point where an urgent reset was needed, and that's never going to be easy. And we're well into that now.
On that note, we shall thank you all for your questions. Thank you for joining us. Me and Stevie will be back later on this week with our Talking Point show as we look at the Rangers Academy and the progression of some of the younger players, the appointment of Kevin Thompson and a couple of other academy points as well. So do join us for that later on. As always, our usual plug, if you like what we do here on the Rangers Review, please like the channel. It really helps us to keep these videos going and allows us to keep doing what we do. And of course, head over to the website and take a subscription out to read the best Rangers journalism. So once again, thanks Stevie for your time. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.